They called it the slaughter of humanity. A goddess walked across Egypt drenched in blood that wasn't her own. The Nile ran red, villages burned, screams echoed across the desert as the lioness hunted, killed, feasted. Her eyes glowed with divine madness. Her teeth dripped with flesh. No army could stop her. No prayer could reach her. The sun god himself had unleashed her. And now he couldn't make her stop. This isn't a metaphor. This isn't symbolic. According to ancient Egypt's most terrifying myth, humanity came within hours of total extinction because one goddess enjoyed killing too much. Welcome to Lore Myth. Tonight you're meeting Sekhmet, the Eye of Ra, the bloodthirsty one, the goddess whose rage nearly erased mankind from existence. Stay until the very end because the way they finally stopped her involves the strangest trick in all Egyptian mythology. And if you're drawn to the myths that are beautiful, brutal, and disturbingly real, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now because Sekhmet's story is only the beginning of what we uncover here. Before there was genocide, before there was a slaughter goddess drunk on human blood, there was order. Ra, the supreme sun god, ruled over gods and mortals. Egypt prospered. The cosmic balance held. But humanity grew arrogant. In the myth recorded in the Book of the Heavenly Cow, one of Egypt's oldest sacred texts, humans began to mock the gods. They stopped offering sacrifices. They whispered that Ra was growing old, weak, senile. Some plotted rebellion. They forgot that the gods were not distant. They were watching, and Ra, despite his age, still had teeth. The council of gods gathered, Shu, Tefnut, Geb, Nut, and the ancient ones. Ra spoke. Humanity conspires against me. What punishment fits their betrayal? The gods debated exile, curses, plagues, placed it upon Hathor's forehead. Divine fire consumed her. Her body twisted. Her bones cracked and reformed. Her face stretched into a lioness's muzzle filled with fangs like bronze daggers. Her gentle hands became massive paws tipped with claws that could split stone. Hathor was gone. Sekhmet stood in her place. And she was sent to earth with one command: punish the guilty. What happened next wasn't punishment. It was extermination. Sekhmet descended on Egypt like a sandstorm made of claws and teeth. She didn't ask questions. She didn't distinguish rebel from innocent. She simply hunted. The texts describe her wading through rivers of blood, her golden fur matted red, her roar shaking the foundations of temples. She tore through villages at dawn. Farmers working fields never heard her approach. Families sleeping in their homes woke to her shadow in the doorway and never woke again. She didn't just kill. She fed. Ancient hymns describe Sekhmet drinking the blood of her victims, her divine thirst growing stronger with every life taken. The more she killed, the more she wanted to kill. The rage that Ra had ignited inside her became a wildfire that consumed everything, including her original purpose. She was no longer punishing the guilty. She was ending humanity itself, and she was smiling. If you're still watching at this point, you understand this channel goes deeper than surface myths. We explore the darkness that ancient cultures actually believed in. So if you haven't already, subscribe now and hit that notification bell. There are dozens more gods and monsters waiting in the shadows, and you don't want to miss what comes next. By the second day of slaughter, Ra realized his terrible mistake. He watched from the heavens as Sekhmet carved a path of annihilation across his kingdom. He called out to her. She didn't hear. He sent messenger gods. She killed them too. He tried to recall the eye to reverse the transformation. But Sekhmet was no longer listening to commands. She had become pure instinct, pure hunger, pure wrath. The gods panicked. If Sekhmet wasn't stopped, there would be no humans left to worship them. No offerings, no prayers. The temples would stand empty. The gods themselves might fade without mortal belief to sustain them. They needed to stop a goddess designed to be unstoppable. Ra gathered his council again, desperate. Thoth, god of wisdom, proposed chains. Horus suggested divine combat. Anubis offered to lead her to the underworld and trap her there. But then an unlikely voice spoke up. It wasn't a warrior god. It wasn't a powerful sorcerer. It was a minor deity of brewing and intoxication. Some texts don't even record his name. He had watched Sekhmet hunt. He had seen her pause between kills, lapping at pools of blood, her tongue savoring the taste. "She's drunk on it," he said quietly. "Not just the killing, the blood itself. She's addicted." "Then we give her what she craves," Ra said slowly. "But we change what it is." And that's when they devised the strangest salvation plan in all mythology. Ra commanded his priests and servants to gather 7,000 jars of beer from every brewery in Egypt. Not just any beer, the strongest, darkest brew available, thick and potent. Then he ordered them to add something specific. Red ochre, a mineral pigment the color of fresh blood. They mixed the ochre into the beer until it looked identical to human blood, dark, crimson, viscous. Then, under cover of night, while Sekhmet slept in a cave surrounded by bones and corpses, they poured all 7,000 jars across the fields where she would hunt at dawn. The land became a shimmering red lake. When Sekhmet woke the next morning, her eyes still burning with divine madness, she saw what she thought was an ocean of blood, her victims already slaughtered, a feast prepared just for her. She roared in triumph and dove into the red lake, drinking deeply. The beer was strong, 7,000 jars strong. Sekhmet drank and drank and drank. And slowly, the greatest killer in Egyptian mythology got completely, utterly drunk. Her movements became sluggish. Her roars turned to purrs. The fire in her eyes dimmed to a warm glow. She collapsed into the red pool, giggling, yes. The texts actually describe her giggling, rolling onto her back like a house cat. Ra descended from the heavens and approached cautiously. Sekhmet looked up at him, her vision blurry, her rage completely extinguished. "Father," she slurred, the humans taste funny today." Ra placed his hand on her massive head. The transformation reversed. The lioness features softened, the claws retracted. Sekhmet shrank back into Hathor, gentle, beautiful, confused. Hathor blinked at the carnage around her, at the blood caking her hands and mouth, at the empty villages smoking in the distance. What did I do?" Ra pulled his eye as weapon, his daughter, his greatest mistake, close. "You did exactly what I asked, and I will never ask again." But here's where the myth takes its darkest turn. This is the part most retellings leave out. Sekhmet didn't completely disappear. Hathor returned to her role as goddess of love and joy, yes? But the Egyptians believed that Sekhmet remained inside her sleeping, waiting, a separate personality that could awaken if Ra ever needed his weapon again. In temple art, Hathor and Sekhmet are sometimes shown as two aspects of the same being. In rituals, priests would make offerings to Sekhmet not out of love, but out of fear. They called her the one before whom evil trembles. They begged her to stay asleep, because they knew the truth. The goddess who nearly ended humanity was still there, just beneath the surface, waiting for the next command to kill. And there's something even more disturbing. The Egyptians made Sekhmet the goddess of healing. Yes, you heard that correctly. The slaughter goddess became the patron of doctors and healers. Why? Because the Egyptians believed disease itself was Sekhmet's arrows shot from a distance. If you got sick, Sekhmet had marked you. The only way to survive was to pray to her, beg her to withdraw her weapons, to show mercy. She became the goddess of both plague and cure, both the wound and the bandage, both the poison and the antidote. The message was clear. Power doesn't disappear. It only changes forms. The same force that can destroy absolutely can also heal absolutely. Sekhmet was both, forever. If you've made it this far into Sekhmet's blood-soaked legend, you're exactly the kind of person. This channel exists for someone who wants the full story, not the sanitized version. So before this video ends, do 3 things. First, hit that like button if you want more deep dives into the gods that mythologies tried to forget or soften. Second, subscribe and turn on all notifications so you never miss the next legend. We're covering gods, demons, and creatures from every corner of the ancient world. Third, drop a comment below and tell me, do you think Sekhmet was a monster, or was she just a weapon doing exactly what she was designed to do? Was Ra the real villain for creating her? I read every comment, and your answers might shape the next video. Let's talk about what Sekhmet's myth actually meant to the ancient Egyptians, because this wasn't just a scary story. It was theology, psychology, and political warning all wrapped into one. First, Sekhmet represented divine justice taken too far. She's what happens when righteous anger becomes indiscriminate slaughter. The Egyptians were warning themselves, even when punishment is deserved, there must be limits. Even gods can lose control. Second, she's the shadow side of love. Hathor, the nurturing mother, transforms into Sekhmet, the devouring killer. The same protective instinct that makes a mother defend her child can, when twisted, become the rage that burns the world. Love and wrath aren't opposites. They're 2 faces of the same passion. Third, and perhaps most important, Sekhmet is a mirror held up to humanity. We created her. Ra sent her because humans mocked the gods, broke sacred contracts, forgot respect. The slaughter didn't begin with Sekhmet. It began with human arrogance. She was the consequence, not the cause. The ancient texts are clear. Sekhmet is still out there, still waiting. Every time plague swept through Egypt, they said she had awakened. Every time war threatened, they begged her to stay dormant. Even today, tourists visiting Egyptian temples report an odd feeling in Sekhmet's shrines, a cold presence, a sense of being watched by something that hasn't forgotten how to hunt. Maybe it's just psychology. Maybe it's ancient architecture designed to intimidate. Or maybe, just maybe, some part of her really is still listening. Here's the final twist that makes Sekhmet's story genuinely chilling. She was stopped not by strength, not by magic, not by a greater god. She was stopped by distraction. Think about that. The greatest killing force in Egyptian mythology wasn't defeated. She was tricked into drinking until she forgot why she was angry. The rage didn't go away. It was just postponed, sedated, put to sleep with 7,000 jars of beer, which means the fury is still there. The weapon is still loaded, and it only takes one command from Ra to wake her up again. The Egyptians understood something we often forget. You can't kill rage. You can only redirect it, transform it, or hope it stays asleep long enough that you forget it was ever there. Sekhmet isn't a myth about a monster. She's a myth about what lives inside power itself, the thin line between protection and destruction, between justice and genocide, between the healer's hand and the killer's claw. Now, before you go, remember, this channel exists to explore the myths that are too dark, too complex, too real for the surface-level videos. If that's what you're here for, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because next week, we're descending into another legend that ancient cultures whispered about in the dark. Hit like if Sekhmet's story lived up to the hype. Comment which god or monster you want covered next. And share this with anyone who thinks mythology is just boring school stuff. Show them what it really is. Until next time, remember, when the ancient Egyptians saw a lioness in the desert, they didn't see an animal. They saw Sekhmet. They saw the goddess who once waded through rivers of human blood and smiled. They saw what happens when the gods lose control. And they ran.